The alarm screamed through the council chamber. Ambassador Vaughn's 3 eyes widened as the holographic display flickered to life above the circular table. Red warnings pulsed across the star map like a dying heart. Impossible, Vaughn whispered. High Chancellor Krell rose from his seat, his silver scales catching the emergency lights. Report, now. The station's AI spoke in flat, emotionless tones. Unidentified vessel detected at Sector 77 Alpha. Energy signature matches. Forbidden's classification Omega Black. The chamber fell silent. 30 ambassadors from 30 different worlds sat frozen. Omega Black. The words that meant death. The words that meant the end of civilizations. Where did it come from? Krell demanded. Deep space. Beyond the outer rim. It's approaching the Sol system. Vaughn felt his blood turn cold. The human system? Are you certain? Confirmed. Ship identification beacon is active. Designation: Pioneer's Hope. Origin: Earth. Launch date. The AI paused. 340 years ago. The chamber erupted. Ambassadors shouted in 20 different languages. Some called for immediate military action. Others demanded evacuation of nearby systems. Vaughn simply stared at the display, his mind racing. 340 years. Before humanity joined the Galactic Council. Before they knew the laws. Before they understood what lurked in the darkness between stars. Silence. Krell's voice boomed like thunder. The room obeyed. Send the battle fleet. Intercept that ship before it reaches human space. No communication. No warning. If they resist, destroy them. Chancellor, wait, Vaughn started. This is not a debate, Ambassador. You know the law. Omega Black technology has destroyed 17 civilizations. We nearly lost everything 10,000 years ago. That ship cannot be allowed to exist. Deep in the black, the Pioneer's Hope drifted through space like a ghost returning home. Its hull was scarred and ancient, covered in makeshift repairs and strange modifications. The ship shouldn't have been flying at all. It should have been dead centuries ago. On the bridge, Captain James stood at the window, watching the stars. He looked too young to have lived through centuries. But his eyes told a different story. They held the weight of impossible years and darker knowledge. Captain, the pilot called out. She was young too, maybe 25. Her name was Beth. We're 3 days from Earth's orbit. Should I send the greeting message? James didn't turn from the window. Not yet. Run another diagnostic on the core. I want to make sure everything's locked down tight. Sir, we've run it 50 times. The modifications are stable. The limiters are holding. Run it again. Beth exchanged glances with Tom, the engineer. Tom shrugged. They'd learned not to question the captain. Not after everything they'd been through out there. Not after what they'd found. There's something you should see, Tom said carefully. He pulled up a display. Long-range sensors are picking up ships. A lot of ships. Military configuration. They're on an intercept course. James finally turned. His face showed no surprise. How long? 6 hours. Maybe less. Wake the others. All of them. Beth's fingers hesitated over the controls. Captain, if we wake everyone from cryo, the Council will know we're not just a ghost ship. They'll know we survived. They already know, Beth. They've known since we entered their sensor range. James moved to the command chair, his movements calm and deliberate. The question is whether they plan to welcome us home or blow us out of the sky. And if it's the second option? A thin smile crossed James's face. Then we show them exactly why humanity doesn't give up, even after 340 years. Even when we're told something is impossible. Tom pulled up the power readings from the ship's core. The numbers glowed in soft blue light, showing energy signatures that shouldn't exist. Energy that came from technology the galaxy had buried and forbidden. Technology that could reshape reality itself or destroy it. They're going to ask questions, Tom said quietly, about where we've been, what we found, what we brought back, yes. And when they find out we have Omega Black technology on board? James looked at both of them. His crew, his family, the 47 souls who'd survived the impossible. Then we tell them the truth, that we went into the dark, that we found something the galaxy forgot, and that we, being human, did what we always do. What's that, sir? We fixed it. The Pioneer's Hope flew on through the black, carrying its forbidden cargo toward home. Behind it, the Council's warships accelerated, weapons charging. Ahead, Earth waited, unaware that its lost children were finally coming back. And between them, in the cold void of space, humanity's fate hung in the balance once more. Asterisk, the boarding happened fast. Too fast for a fight, but slow enough to send a message. Captain James watched through the view screen as 12 Council warships surrounded the Pioneer's Hope like predators circling wounded prey. Their weapons stayed hot, locked on every critical system. One wrong move and the ship would become dust. Lower shields, James ordered. Open the airlocks. Beth gripped her console. Captain, they'll take everything. They'll take the core, I know. Then why? Because if we fight, we die. If we cooperate, we might live long enough to explain. James turned to face his crew. All 47 of them now stood on the bridge, pulled from cryosleep for the first time in years. They looked tired, scared, but not broken. Remember what we agreed. Tell them the truth. All of it? The Council soldiers came through the airlock like a storm. They wore combat armor that shifted colors, weapons that hummed with contained energy. Their leader, a tall alien with 4 arms and gray skin, stepped forward. His name badge read Commander Drake. Crew of the Pioneer's Hope, Drake announced, his voice amplified through his helmet. By order of the Galactic Council, this vessel is now under quarantine. You are all under arrest for possession of Omega-class Forbiddance technology. Surrender immediately. James raised his hands. Around him, his crew did the same. Drake's eyes narrowed. You're not surprised. We've been in space for 340 years, Commander. We figured things might have changed. James kept his voice steady. We're not your enemies. We're just trying to get home. That thing in your engine room says otherwise. Drake gestured to his soldiers. Take them to holding cells. Carefully, they may be contaminated. The soldiers moved in, separating the crew into groups. James watched as Beth and Tom were led away. The young pilot looked back at him, fear in her eyes. James nodded once. Stay strong. Drake himself escorted James toward the engine room. You know what you have down there? Yes. Then you know why we can't let you live. James said nothing. The engine room looked like controlled chaos. Cables ran everywhere, connecting human technology to something else entirely. Something that pulsed with dark purple light. At the center sat the core, a sphere of contained energy that shouldn't exist. Drake's soldiers stopped at the doorway. Even through their armor, James could sense their fear. Impossible, Drake whispered. This is a dark matter engine. A real one. Where did you get this? We built it. Humans don't have this technology. No one does. It was lost 10,000 years ago for a reason. Drake moved closer to the core, his scanner active. This technology consumed the Void Masters. It ate their civilization from the inside out. The radiation alone should have killed you all. It would have, James agreed, if we'd used their design. Drake spun around. Explain. 200 years into our voyage, our ship failed. Everything broke down. We were drifting, dying slowly. We had maybe 5 years of life support left. James leaned against the wall, remembering. Then we found something. A derelict station. Ancient. Empty. Dead for thousands of years. The Void Master ruins. We didn't know what they were called. We just knew we were desperate. James gestured to the core. There was an AI still functioning. Barely. It was alone, waiting in the dark for millennia. When it detected us, it reached out. Drake's 4 hands clenched into fists. An AI taught you this? Gave you the exact technology that destroyed its creators? No, it warned us. Told us what went wrong. Showed us the fatal flaw in the design. James smiled grimly. The Void Masters built engines that drew unlimited power from dark matter. But they couldn't control it. The reaction cascaded. It fed on itself until entire worlds burned. And you thought you could do better? We didn't have a choice, Commander. It was die slowly in the dark or try something impossible. Drake was quiet for a long moment. His scanner beeped, showing readings that made no sense. These limiters. Quantum governors. Temporal locks. This isn't Void Master technology. No, it's human. James pushed off the wall, walking toward the core. The purple light reflected in his eyes. We spent 50 years modifying it, testing it, breaking it, and rebuilding it. The AI said it couldn't be done. Said we'd kill ourselves trying, but you succeeded. We're human. We're too stubborn to know when something's impossible. Drake's communicator crackled. Commander, cryobay analysis complete. They've been rotating crew in shifts. Awake for 10 years, sleeping for 20. For 3 centuries. To monitor the engine, Drake realized. You never trusted it to run alone. Would you? Drake stared at the core. At the impossible human achievement glowing before him. At the technology that should have killed them all, but instead brought them home. The Council will never allow this, he said quietly. They'll order your execution. They'll destroy this ship. Everything you've done will be erased. James met his eyes. Then I guess we'd better make our case compelling. This isn't a debate, Captain. This is law. 10,000 years of law. Laws can be wrong, Commander. James smiled. Besides, you haven't seen what else we can do. Asterisk, the trial happened in orbit around Earth. Humanity insisted on it. Captain James stood in the center of the council chamber, surrounded by holographic projections of judges from 100 worlds. Behind him, through the massive viewport, Earth hung like a blue jewel. Home. So close after 3 centuries, yet he might never touch its surface again. High Chancellor Krell spoke first. Captain James of the Pioneer's Hope, you and your crew stand accused of possessing Omega-class technology. Technology that has been forbidden for 10,000 years. Technology that destroyed the Void Masters and 17 other civilizations. How do you plead? Guilty, James said simply. The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. However, James continued, his voice cutting through the noise, I asked the Council to consider that we didn't just possess this technology. We fixed it. Fixed? Krell's laugh was bitter. You cannot fix a weapon of extinction. You can only delay its inevitable destruction. Then let me prove it. Ambassador Vorn leaned forward. Prove what, exactly? That human modifications make the dark matter engine safe. That we solved the cascade problem. That we've run this engine for 200 years without a single containment failure. Impossible, another council member declared. The Void Masters had 1,000 years of advancement beyond current galactic civilization. If they couldn't control it, humans certainly cannot. James smiled. That's where you're wrong. The Void Masters were too advanced. They built complexity on top of complexity. They thought bigger was better, more power meant more control. But we're human. We're simple. We built limiters that actually work because we were too primitive to overthink it. Krell slammed his fist on the table. Enough philosophy. The law is clear. All Omega-class technology must be destroyed. All who possess it must be executed. There are no exceptions. Not even for progress? Especially not for progress. That's how civilizations die. The chamber doors burst open. Admiral Ross of the Earth Defense Fleet strode in, flanked by 20 human soldiers. His uniform was crisp, his expression hard. "This trial is a mockery," Ross announced. "You're prosecuting heroes. Men and women who survived the impossible to bring knowledge back to their people." Krell stood. "Admiral, this chamber is Sovereign Council territory. You have no authority here. And you have no authority to execute human citizens without Earth's consent." Ross walked to stand beside James. "These people are ours. They're coming home. Even if they bring destruction with them." "Let us see the evidence," Vorn interjected quickly, trying to prevent escalation. "Captain James claims the technology is safe. Let our scientists examine it. If he's telling the truth, perhaps there's another solution." Krell looked ready to refuse. Then he saw the human warships taking position outside the viewport. Dozens of them. Earth had grown strong in 3 centuries. Strong enough to fight if pushed. "Fine," Krell agreed coldly. "You have 48 hours. The next 2 days passed in tense silence. Council scientists swarmed the Pioneer's Hope, running every test imaginable. They pushed the engine to its limits, searching for the cascade failure that would prove humans were fools playing with fire. They found nothing. On the morning of the 3rd day, the head scientist, an ancient being named Dr. Wells, presented his findings. "The human modifications are ... Wells paused, searching for words. "Elegant. Surprisingly so. They've added quantum limiters that prevent cascade reactions. Temporal locks that shut down the system if instability is detected. And a manual override that allows instant core ejection." "So it's safe?" Vorn asked. "Nothing is perfectly safe. But this..." Wells gestured to the data. "This is safer than most standard fusion drives. The humans actually solved the fundamental problem. They made dark matter technology controllable." The chamber fell silent. Krell's face was unreadable. "Even so, the law stands. This technology remains forbidden. It will be destroyed. The crew, however..." He paused. "The crew may go free. They acted in survival, not malice. But the engine dies here." James nodded slowly. "I understand, Chancellor. Thank you for your mercy. Take your people home, Captain. Forget what you learned out there." "Of course." Admiral Ross escorted James and his crew back to Earth. As they entered atmosphere, Beth sat beside James in the transport shuttle. "We lost," she said quietly. "They're destroying the engine. Everything we worked for." James looked out at the planet below. Cities sprawled across continents. Humanity, thriving and strong. Did we? He asked. Tom leaned forward from the seat behind. "Captain?" James pulled out a small data chip. "I transmitted the complete engine specifications to Earth 3 days ago, before the Council even boarded our ship. Every calculation, every modification, every lesson we learned. It's already in the hands of human scientists." Beth's eyes went wide. "But the Council said our engine would be destroyed. And it will be. But they said nothing about the data." James smiled, that same stubborn smile that had carried them through 3 centuries. "We're human. We don't give up. We don't forget. And we certainly don't throw away the future just because someone tells us we can't have it." The shuttle touched down on Earth soil. The first time in 340 years. James stood, straightening his ancient uniform. Come on, let's go home. Behind them, in orbit, the Pioneer's hope burned. The Council destroyed it thoroughly, certain they'd prevented catastrophe. They had no idea humanity had already won. The end asterisk.